So what a whirlwind of a weekend it was, especially Saturday at Oaklawn Park, where your boys, Joe and Jon, plus the patriarch of the Green family, Len Green, plus CEO Terry Finley and the West Point partners, Mark Casse, everybody that we love and that is involved on Sandman got to celebrate and just really enjoy the progression and then the coming out party of Sandman to punch his ticket for Kentucky Derby 151 with an off-the-pace victory in the Arkansas Derby. It was a phenomenal day. We're going to talk plenty about it. This is my first time to Oaklawn, and I got to say I was very impressed. Like, it looks great on TV. Like, I know the Sella family puts a lot of money into the product, into the building, but this was an immensely successful show that they put on and well organized for the tens of thousands of people that were there. The infield was popping. The food was great. The energy was just awesome. So that's the first thing I want to say is shout out to everybody at Oaklawn. They put on a great show. But this was just, I got to say, it was watching Sandman progress from that debut where he was like 3-5 and ran fifth. And not that any of us were panicking or anything, but you just never know. And there was a time there where we were like, he might be nice, but is he top quality? Is he $1.2 million purchase quality? And now he's proven without a doubt that he is. And he's going to be one of the favorites for the Kentucky Derby, which is just wild to even say. And yes, the caveat is he got a great pace setup, with Cornucopian and Speed King going at it up front. Or Terry and I looked at each other when we saw them blaze past us. I was like, whoa, we might be in really good shape here. We just got to outkick the other closers. But he ran. He got a 99 buyer, which is right there with everybody except for the journalism race, and we'll see if he can back that up. But Jon, this was the day that we have been waiting for since last March, and I'm just so glad that we were all there to share it. Obviously, not the end goal. We're 5 weeks away from the big one. A little less than 5 weeks. We're going to soak up every single day, every minute up until then. But Jon, just first blush reactions from just honestly one of my favorite days ever at a racetrack.
Well, that's saying a lot, Joe, because you and I have logged many a day at the various racetracks around the country. It was also my maiden voyage to Oaklawn and to Arkansas, for that matter. I'd never been in that state, and really from the time that we got to the facility until the time we left, it was a whirlwind. But it was so exciting and refreshing. And, you mentioned the positive energy, which there was an abundance of. And there were almost 70,000 people there. I mean, 70,000 people in kind of a small facility. It could have been, a very different feel. But, everyone there was in a good mood. Everyone there was there to watch racing. It wasn't just like a drunk fest or anything like that. Like sometimes you get it at some of these stake races or these big race days. People had a lot of respect for everyone performing. They had a lot of respect for everyone who was there. And pretty much everyone who was anybody in the industry was there. Unless they were running a horse at Gulfstream, they were there. The big owners, big trainers, big outfits, big breeders. Farms, Kentucky Farms sent their contingents to look at the prospects that were in the Arkansas Derby, and that's a whole nother topic for us, and a little bit on the show is that whole stallion prospect, how that all unfolds. But Joe, we've been fortunate enough to win grade ones before, and they are that's the cream of the crop. That's the top of the heap. Whatever you want to use. There's such a small percentage, a small number of horses that ever achieve that goal. But I was like really actually calm because we weren't the favorite. We weren't the odds-on choice that people were expecting us to have to hit the board, and hit the wire first. We were not even the second choice. We were the third choice in the race. And for me, that meant that there was a little bit less pressure. Now, internally, I was very excited for the opportunity that the way that it was playing itself out. Speed was on the way outside. You and I talked about it last week about how Cornucopian could be that superstar horse. There's no reason to think that he wasn't. But there were a lot of things that he had to overcome. Could he handle the second race of his career? Could he handle going from maiden horses to not only grade one horses, but the top contenders for the Kentucky Derby in the crop? New jockey. going from 6 to 9 furlongs, being shipped back and forth again, from his home town in California back out to Oaklawn. Any one of those things could have been, enough to tip the scales. But then on top of that, to go out in 22-2 and 45-1 and 110-1 and just have absolutely no idea of how fast they were going. To the point where I've never seen this before, Joe, but in the Equibase comments on the race, they use the term suicidal speed duel. I've never seen that before, but that was exactly what it was. Those two horses went out there almost like as if the other horse wasn't even in existence. They were running a hole through the wind. And it was the exact opposite setup of what we've been involved with between the Southwest and the Rebel. Those two races had one horse that went out for the most part, slowed the pace down, and then was able to outkick everybody. This was the exact opposite situation. And quite frankly, the way that we needed the race to go in order for Sandman to win, because not only was it, there was a lot of speed in the race, but it was speed favoring because the race was drying out and tightening up every single time that they set foot on that racetrack.
Yeah. Well, and I got to say, Cornucopian ran great.
Huge.
To be fourth.
Huge. Yeah.
So he got an 86 buyer, all the things you're talking about, all the hurdles that he had, for him to stick around and be fourth. And what was he beaten? 8.5 lengths.
Yeah. Yep.
B King was beaten 24 3/4 lengths. Talking about a spaced out field. Other than the top three, Sandman won by 2.5. Publisher was another 4.5 clear. Right. Then Coal Battle, then Cornucopian. The other horses were beaten 18 1/4, 24 3/4, 44.5, 47, and 53 lengths.
Right.
So that was a spaced out group,
right.
And that tells me that the top four all ran really good races.
Yep.
And I got to give a shout out to Jose Ortiz.
Yes.
He rode the horse perfectly. He moved at the exact right time, because the only concern I had, once I saw the fractions, the only concern I had is is Coal Battle going to get the jump on us like he did in the Rebel? And Jose didn't let that happen. Nope. As soon as he saw those horses start to back up, he moved. And by the time they turned for home, Coal Battle and Sandman were right next to each other. And I felt good at that point that we're going to outkick Coal Battle to the wire, especially, with Coal Battle being closer to the pace. I also got to give a shout out to Lonnie Briley. I don't know if you saw any of the videos or anything of him after the race. I saw he immediately went up and congratulated Mark Casse, and he gave a great, honest assessment of his training of the horse. He said he probably needed one more work, and he admitted his mistake, and just was so gracious and so polite, and just you love to see guys like that have success.
Yeah.
The dudes who this is the horse of a lifetime for them, and they still take time to congratulate the winning trainer, give interviews, be honest and forthright. So I just was and I had never seen him or heard of him before this in my life.
Yep.
And I just was very, very impressed, and it makes it all the more heartwarming, even though we lost, that he did get that big day in the Rebel. And who knows, maybe he'll have another big day in the Triple Crown.
Right.
I also want to shout out Mark Casse, and we're going to talk to him in a little bit, because, John, you and I both, I think separately, when Sandman had run third in the Street Sense, and let's be real, it was kind of a clunk up third. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a great effort. He was still a little green. And I think we both separately asked Mark, so do you want to give this horse a little bit of a break and to mature?
Yep.
And he was adamant. He said, no, he's going to learn by doing.
Right.
He's going to learn by racing. And now you have a horse who has 8 races of foundation in him for the Derby, including 5 two-turn races.
Right.
And unless Dwayne's got a horse in the race, I find it hard to believe there's going to be another horse with that much seasoning and that much foundation coming into the Derby, and that matters.
Right.
And Mark, like I said, was adamant, and there's a reason he's in 2 Hall of Fames. He trains his horses to learn as they go for development, and it's refreshing. And honestly, in a world where trainers sit on their horses for 6-8 weeks at a time for really no reason other than the sheets say so, Mark Casse said no. He's going to learn and he's going to mature with seasoning. And now look at where he is.
And Joe, you were in on those initial conversations with Mark as far as what we were going to do with him for his 3-year-old year. And, there were a couple of options. I mean, we could have gone the more traditional route of leaving him at home, meaning Florida, and running him in the preps at Gulfstream, or giving him a little bit of time, like you mentioned, and letting him develop, because he is such a big, gangly horse. Give him a little time to kind of fill in and fill up and then take another shot. And Mark was adamant about saying, Oaklawn is where I want to send the horse. And I haven't sent horses there since 2017. And that's the last time that I won, the Arkansas Derby. But that series of races and that racetrack is so conducive and so similar to Churchill Downs that this is where we need to be. And I remember you and I talking about it afterwards. We're like, is this the same horse that just finished third in the street sense that lost, basically by 6 lengths and wasn't really looking like, what is Mark seeing that you and I individually and collectively weren't seeing? And I like to think that we're pretty smart guys, especially being able to project what horses, will eventually come into themselves. But Mark did he could see the forest of the trees, and basically had it set up that he wanted to run in a 4-race series, each one being a little bit tougher than the previous. And you're right. Now he's got, the horse is still a little bit green. I mean, ran down the stretch, got hit left-handed after he was in front, and still kind of, geeked out a little bit. And to me, some people said, well, it's because he was getting so tired at the end. Look, he's no, it's because he got bored, because he got in front and he was like, okay, where's everybody? What's going on? And he got to lollygagging a little bit. But, Mark had it in his head that he was going to go this route. And I said it on Steve Bick's show, today, that there is not a combination that I would trade anybody for. I would not trade the combination of Sandman, Mark Casse, and Jose Ortiz for any other group that's out there right now. I think we have a great combination, and you gave kudos to Jose, and I will as well, because not only did Jose move at the right time, he actually outjumped Publisher, because we were second to last and Publisher was in last at that moment. And he got the jump on Pratt and basically was able to weave between horses, and Pratt had to go on the outside of the horses instead and couldn't really follow us. And, I don't know if it would have made the difference in a couple lengths that we were moving, but Publisher was moving down the lane also. And I'm just glad that Jose had enough sense to go when he did. And he even said in the paddock, it's a speed favoring track. That's not what this horse wants to do. He doesn't want to get hustled. But what I'm going to do differently is I'm going to get him in gear sooner, because when he gets in gear, if I know that I have clear sailing in front of me, when he gets in gear, he stays in gear. And that's exactly what happened. He got him in gear on the backstretch, kept him, had him on the inside to save some ground. When he decided to make his move, he went on the outside and made sure that there wasn't going to be anybody else that was going to get in his way. Because once that big gangly horse starts getting his legs in gear, you don't want to have to stop him. It's too hard to get going again. And I think that everyone in this group, added some value to where the horse is right now. And I couldn't be prouder of owning, a third of this horse. And I couldn't be happier being able to share it with the people that we're sharing it with, because that's what makes it, like, we've run in other big races, and I don't usually like to have partnerships just because I'm a control freak. But part of the enjoyment of having this horse at this level has been to be able to share this stuff with you and with West Point and I haven't so much with Vinny or Chuck Sanson, just because I haven't seen them as much. But it's just great to be able to kind of revel in this stuff, and in the highest of highs you want to share it with your friends, and in the lowest of lows you want to be able to commiserate and have your insight and advice and looking through the lens of what you're going on, because I have respect for your opinion on this stuff. But to me, that's what's making this dream such a special trip for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's West Point's had a good year so far. We got a lot of nice 3-year-old colts. And at a certain point, it seemed like we might have 2 or 3 in the Derby, and we still might. We have Statesman running in the Wood this Saturday, which I'm excited about. And I obviously root for all of them, but it does make it extra special that this is like the family horse. Yeah. Between us and between you and Len, it seems fitting that this would be the horse that would make it and be one of the favorites. And this was the dream last March when we came together. Like you never can see that far down the road, but this was like, can you imagine if this horse ever became like a real superstar, like how much fun we would have on the show and like at the races. And it's starting to come together. And I also want to shout out your dad. And I'm so happy for the West Point partners and for all the people who are involved, but nobody am I happier for than for Len. Because he's put in the hard yards in this game to build like a sustainable ownership business with sharp people working for him, like you and Kim Valerio and some of the other people that you use. And it's not easy. Like you take a lot of beating in this game, and he's always so gracious with his time and good humored, and obviously has let me tag along to some big races. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. And I don't know, I just, I'm like honestly getting a little emotional talking about it, just because we've gotten so close over the years, and Len is such a great guy who has never let any success go to his head. I just love that he has this opportunity in less than 5 weeks to fulfill a lifelong dream. And like I said, I'm happy for everybody, but I'm most happy for Len, and no one deserves it more.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, and I know that's part of the joy is him being able to sit back and watch all of us enjoy it as well. And it's going to be. Look, I hope it's a wild ride for more than 5 weeks. That we continue to be able to not only talk about this, but also let our audience in on some of the behind the scenes of what goes on, while you have a Derby contender, hopefully maybe, further in the Preakness and the Belmont and other races like that, the decision-making as to where to go, what to do, which farm we should sell the breeding rights to. I mean, there's a bidding war going on right now between some of the big 3 or 4 farms that are in Kentucky that are all, they're going to inspect the horse and start to make some offers that we anticipate over the next week or two, and we'll let the audience in on anything that we can. Anything that's not confidential. We want you guys to know, because we want you to be able to share this adventure and this ride with us. You're not going to get any of the money, so don't think about that. But we will share, what goes into it, because this is like uncharted waters. As long as we've been in the business, we've never had a stallion prospect. So this is really uncharted waters for us. You guys have, I mean, as recently as Flightline, but you've had other stallions that. That you go through a certain negotiation process on, and it's not just all about the money. It's about who else is going to come in and give mares, clients mares to support the horse, and who's going to put money into marketing and all those other intangibles that go into it that aren't necessarily going to enrich us monetarily, but give the horse the best chance possible. But for right now, let's only talk about his racing career, because right now he is top 3, Joe, in your estimation. I mean, I know it's hard because you and I are biased, but is he in the top 3, top 2? Where would you say he is?
Said, the only race that was faster, like empirically, was journalism's race.
Right.
He's got to back it up in the Santa Anita Derby.
Yep.
Yeah. Like who else would you put above him right now? I think he's maybe Citizen Bull.
Citizen Bull.
Give him the benefit of the doubt as being a 2-year-old champion, but he's right there. He's right there, going to be one of the top 3 or 4 choices. And the last thing I'll say is he's got an awesome personality. And I mentioned this before. There's a great video, if you can find it. Andy Biancone, shout out to Andy, a friend of the show, does a great job. And she did like a little morning after report from his stall.
Yep.
He is so funny, dude.
Yeah.
The way he knows he's on camera and knows he's the center of attention. Caden Arthur was saying that if you walk past the stall and don't acknowledge him, he gets upset.
Yeah.
He's just the coolest horse, and he's been like that since day one, since we bought him. He's so unique in so many ways, the way he looks, the way he runs, the way he acts, and just the way his personality and his aura, that if you ever do have a chance to visit him at Saratoga or whatever, Mark is very, very he's very generous about those kind of things. You should go see him, because he's the man and he knows it.